Welcome back, viewers. We have latest updates for you. Some of the most disturbing and most significant reports we have ever covered. Firstly, an Ethiopian regime drone strike hit a monastery during daily mass. 7 worshippers killed instantly, 10 severely injured. This is not the first time Abiy Ahmed's forces have bombed a place of worship in Amhara. Second, we will update you that Fano repels a massive multi-front regime offensive across Chok Mountain. Artillery kills civilians, including a 3-year-old child. 5 civilians killed in Bibon. And Fano takes Debre Kebeli, a strategic area near Debre Markos city. And in Baso Liben, over 50 regime forces killed in a single morning, including 3 commanders. Reinforcements ambushed and destroyed on the road before they could reach the battle. Drone strike footage is on your screen now. Sensitive footage of casualties cannot be shown due to platform policies, but it has been received and verified. What you are watching happened in Amhara. This is not a military target. This is not a weapons depot. This is not a Fano position. This is a monastery, a church, a place where people went to pray, and Abiy Ahmed's regime bombed it during mass. Viewers, the Abiy Kidist Asema Monastery, South Wulo Diocese, Amhara region. On a day like any other, worshippers gathered for daily mass. They came to pray. They came for the routine sacred rhythm of faith that has defined life in this region for centuries. An Ethiopian regime drone found them there. The strike hit directly in the middle of the service. 7 people were killed instantly. 10 others were left severely injured. Their lives changed forever in the seconds it took for a drone fired by their own government to reach them. We have received footage from this attack. Due to platform content policies, we cannot show images of the killed and injured. But we have verified what happened, and we will not stay silent about it. This attack at Abiy Kidist Asema Monastery is not an isolated event. It fits a pattern, a documented, repeated pattern of the Ethiopian regime targeting religious sites in Amhara. In March, just months ago, a regime weapons strike hit the historic Ries at Barat Water Eka Negest Atrons Mariam Monastery in Mehau Saint, also in South Wulo Diocese. That attack killed 6 people. It maimed dozens of clergy and worshippers who had gathered for worship. 2 monasteries, both in South Wulo, both struck by regime weapons. Clergy killed, worshippers killed, dozens maimed. This government, which stands before Western diplomats and speaks of national dialogue and inclusive governance, is bombing its own citizens inside their churches. Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity is not just a religion in Amhara. It is identity. It is history. It is the living heartbeat of a civilization that is over 2,000 years old. These monasteries are not buildings. They are sacred institutions that have survived invasions, famines, and wars across centuries. Abiy Ahmed's drones have now crossed a line that no Ethiopian government has crossed before. He is bombing the faith of a people alongside their bodies. Let the international community that praises this government's dialogue explain how national reconciliation is consistent with bombing monasteries during mass. Now to the military situation across East Gojjam zone between July 18th and 20th. 3 days of intense, coordinated fighting across multiple fronts. The Ethiopian regime launched coordinated offensives across Machako, Bibun, and Sinan Woredas, pushing against Fano positions across the Chok Mountain area. Fano units from the 99th, 24th, and 54th divisions, all operating under the Amhara Fano National Movement's Tewodros Corps, met the regime offensive head on across all 3 fronts simultaneously. The result, regime troops were forced to withdraw from newly established positions in the Degesekning and Debre Kelemo areas. Fano prevented regime forces from entering Weber town entirely. 3 fronts, 3 withdrawals, 3 regime failures. But the regime's response to being defeated in the field was to turn its weapons on the people who live there. In Machako Woreda, artillery shells fired indiscriminately into civilian areas. Among the victims, a 3-year-old child, severely wounded, 3 years old. In the Azora Medanelem area of Bibun Woreda, at least 5 civilians killed by regime artillery shelling. Near St. George Church, another civilian injured. In Sinan Woreda residential neighborhood struck. Additional civilian casualties reported, numbers still being confirmed. This is the pattern of an army that cannot win battles against Fano, so it punishes the civilian population instead. Artillery shells hitting where children play, where families live, where churches stand. 107 enemy rockets on farmers' homes, drones on monasteries, artillery on neighborhoods. This is what restoring order looks like under Abiy Ahmed's government. And on July 20th, even as regime forces were shelling civilians, Fano took Debre Zeit Kebele in Sinan Woreda, a strategically located area, a short distance from Debre Markos city. Debre Markos is the capital of East Gojjam zone. Fano is now operating within reach of a major regional city. This is not the behavior of a resistance that is losing. This is a resistance that is advancing. Now to what may be the single most devastating Fano operation of the week. July 20th. Baso Liben Woreda. East Gojjam zone. Fano units of the 34th Division operating under the 206 Corps of the Teodros Corps moved on Kok town in the early morning. This was not a defensive action. This was an infiltration, a deliberate, planned offensive assault. They entered Kok town. They identified the regime encampment, and they launched a morning assault. The result, more than 50 Ethiopian regime personnel killed in a single engagement. Among the dead 35 members of the ADF Regional Defense Forces deployed alongside the Ethiopian National Defense Force, 15 militia members killed alongside them, and among those 53 commanders, 1 battalion commander, 2 company commanders killed in the same operation. When you lose 3 commanders in a single engagement, you are not facing a setback, you are facing a rout. Battalion and company commanders are not frontline privates. They are the operational backbone of military units in the field. Their loss creates confusion, disrupts communication, and breaks unit cohesion immediately. Fano also captured multiple firearms, quantities of ammunition, and other military supplies during the battle. As they have done before, weapons brought to kill Fano fighters will now arm Fano fighters. But the battle did not end with Kok. When the news of the encampment's destruction reached regime commanders, reinforcements were dispatched from Yejbe town. 2 military transport trucks, loaded with soldiers, driving toward Kok to respond. They never arrived. Fano intercepted them before they reached the battlefield. An ambush. One of the 2 transport vehicles was destroyed completely, along with all soldiers on board. The regiment came to rescue survivors of a battle and became casualties themselves before they could reach the front. In a single day, in Baso Liben Woreda, over 50 regime personnel killed, 3 commanders killed, weapons and ammunition captured, and a reinforcement convoy ambushed and destroyed. The Ethiopian National Defense Force has not issued a statement about Baso Liben. It will not issue one, because there is nothing it can say about this that serves its narrative. Let us step back and look at what this week's events tell us about the state of this conflict. The Ethiopian regime is bombing monasteries during Mass. It is shelling civilian neighborhoods with heavy artillery. It is wounding 3-year-old children with weapons meant for battlefields. And on those battlefields, it is losing. 23 soldiers killed in Gonda on July 17th. The Debre Markos offensive collapsed, dozens captured on camera. Now 50 more killed in Baso Liben, 3 commanders dead, a reinforcement convoy destroyed. Fano takes Debre Zeit within reach of Debre Markos city. This is 3 years of war, 3 years of federal offensives, 3 years of air power, drones, artillery, and numerical superiority deployed against Fano forces that are, in the regime's own framing, a lightly armed militia. And the result of 3 years is this: Fano holds more ground today than it did a year ago. Regime soldiers appear in captivity in photographs. Regime commanders are being killed in ambushes. Last week, Abiy Ahmed told Parliament he is not worried about a Tigray People Liberation Front Eritrea alliance. Ask the families of the 3 commanders killed in Baso Liben whether they are worried. Ask the 10 worshippers lying in hospital beds after the Abikidist Asema Monastery strike whether this government deserves the trust it claims. Ask the parents of a 3-year-old child wounded by artillery in Machako whether the national dialogue happening in Addis Ababa has anything to do with their lives. The answers are written in blood across the chalk mountains, across South Wulo, across the monasteries and neighborhoods of Amhara. We'll keep reporting. Like, share, and subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss an update from the front lines.